In a world where well-being takes center stage, we introduce a luminary figure and true pioneer in natural health and wellness, who has transformed countless lives with his natural health expertise and holistic approach. Introducing Aaron Warden, also known as the Juice Doctor. The Juice Doctor is an award-winning clinical nutritionist, natural health researcher, detox specialist, and functional health practitioner. He's a trailblazer, an innovator, and the producer of botanical health products. You may recognize him as the star of Channel 4 and Sky TV's Supersized Kids, where Aaron took a 26-stone teenager on an emotional roller coaster to transform his life and ultimately his weight. As a social entrepreneur, humanitarian, CEO, and founder of Vivo Nutrients, Go Detox, and MI Healthcare Group, the Juice Doctor is committed to providing natural health solutions that produce real results. His mission is simple: freedom through well-being. Join us for an extraordinary and insightful well-being experience as the Juice Doctor takes us through the award-winning wellness blueprint that has successfully helped thousands achieve natural weight loss, increased energy, amazing mental clarity, glowing skin, and overcome major health challenges without medication, bad diets, or stepping into a gym. The Juice Doctor's approach to wellness is revolutionary and cuts through uncertainty by thoroughly examining all aspects of your health and lifestyle. Once the root cause is identified, nature's finest organic ingredients are employed to create an inner environment conducive to accelerated well-being from within. Don't miss this life-changing opportunity to transform your life and inspire a new perspective on health. Bring your health-related questions and get organic recommendations and enhanced food-based solutions that will supercharge your health like never before. Book in for a non-invasive scan and consultation today and get ready for a transformative experience that will exceed your expectations. Your journey to holistic optimal wellness starts today. Make sure to follow the Juice Doctor on Instagram at ask.juicedoctor and on YouTube at askjuicedoctor.
Hey, well, good evening and welcome to today's live health Q&A with yours truly, the Juice Doctor. I'm so excited to have you here, whether you're watching live or catching it on the replay on YouTube. This session is all about you and answering your most pressing health questions. We're going to cover a wide range of topics today, from nutrition to fitness to mental health. So feel free to ask anything that is on your mind. My goal is to give you science-backed remedies and actionable tips that you can take away to help improve your health and well-being today. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you take some time to leave a comment and definitely like. And if you're not already a subscriber to our channel, please do subscribe, because we want to make sure we get this information to as many people as possible so they can benefit just as you are going to benefit today. So make sure you hit that like button and definitely subscribe and leave a comment. So let's jump right in with some fun, well, not even fun, but let's jump right in with some true statistics. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world of health today. There's a lot of things that people are maybe not aware of that are actually taking place. And there's some real live data and statistics to back it up. We are living in unprecedented times when it comes to health. We've had, crisis after crisis. We've had pandemics. We've had strikes. We've had doctors going on strike. We've had surgeons going on strike. We've had medical practitioners going on strike. This just goes to show the level of importance that your health must play when your first line of support is now having problems. So you are going to be the one that's going to be taking full responsibility for your health. So the more knowledge you have, the more armed you are to deal with situations should they arise. So let's jump in with a few statistics that maybe you do or do not know. Did you know that 1 in 3 adults worldwide are overweight, and nearly 40% of all adults are obese? That's a serious indictment to the world, because that's telling you that people are seriously not being able to manage their weight and being able to control their intake of calories. So obesity is a massive problem that is affecting a plethora of people all around the world. Imagine 40% of all adults are obese. That is a serious, serious situation. So being obese is not something that people like to be classified as, but the line from being large, slightly large, to being obese is getting narrower and narrower. So many people are falling into that category, and their options of what to do or how to get out of it are getting thinner and thinner. So we're going to hopefully address some of those remedies and tips that you can use today to help you become less risk of getting obese. Another one is 80% of heart disease is preventable with lifestyle changes, yet it's still the leading cause of death globally. Can you imagine? 80% of heart disease is preventable, yet it's still the leading cause of death today. I remember we had a client who was about 89 years old, and he's living up in Yorkshire. And one of the things he did is he was meant to have a triple heart bypass. And he started using one of our products, which is called Elixir of Life. Elixir of Life is a really powerful collagen builder. It really builds collagen. And you know, collagen is a protein that really holds the whole body together. Anyway, he started taking Elixir of Life on a regular basis. I think he took it about 6 months. And he went to go and have his pre-operation assessment just to check his levels before he was actually admitted to do the surgery. And the doctors were astounded because they said, your heart could now get away with just having a stent. You no longer need to have that serious operation of having a triple bypass. And they said heart conditions don't improve, but his heart had actually improved just by having access to nutritional information and taking the relevant product that he needed to really support his diet, to support his health, and more importantly, to support his heart. So he took Elixir of Life for about 6 months, and it actually repaired his heart to such a level that doctors were able to get him away with just having a stent. So that just goes to show that knowledge is power. When you have knowledge in the right hands and you're able to apply that knowledge, you'll be surprised and amazed at what your body is able to do. Another statistic is over 264 million people suffer from depression globally, making it one of the most prevalent health conditions today. Imagine that. 264 million people are suffering from depression. And that is a very, very, very serious statistic. That's a lot of people who are feeling very sad. But I wonder if you did know that what the major underlying cause of depression is. And if you know anybody that's watching this now, watching the live, or you know that they can have access to YouTube to watch the reel later, let them know that one of the major causes of depression is actually unforgiveness. Yes, you heard it right. Unforgiveness is one of the leading causes of depression, because you have somebody, I don't know, maybe do something to you or offend you, or you have a long series or a long period of people offending you, and you have bitterness or resentment, and you build it up towards them, and that then puts you into that state of, you know, depression and feeling down. And the reason why you're feeling down, because you're not able to get past the fact that whatever's happened to you has actually happened, and you've not been able to let it go. So you're holding on to this unforgiveness towards this other person. I'm sure you've heard this saying where they say it's like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to fall down. So you holding on to that, all that animosity, and holding on to all that bitterness or anger or resentment, has then become embedded in your psyche, that you can no longer function within your normal realm of joy. So you then degenerate into that state of depression. But at the root of that depression, there is unforgiveness. So if you're holding on to unforgiveness, you need to find a way to let go of whatever it is that is ailing you or is stopping you from moving forward with your life, because depression is something that is very much reversible, but it's only once you understand and have the tools. Another statistic, by 2050, they are saying it is projected that 1 in 3 people will be living with diabetes or pre-diabetes if current trends continue. 1 in 3 people, that's a third of the population, are predicted to be living with diabetes or pre-diabetes if current trends continue. That shows you that current trends are showing that diabetes is spiraling out of control. As we mentioned in the beginning, that obesity is a massive, massive problem. Over 40% of adults in the world are suffering with obesity. So after obesity, the next step in that health downward spiral is you developing diabetes or pre-diabetes. I'm sure some of you have come into contact with your doctors or your GPs or your medical professionals, and they've told you that you may be either borderline diabetic or even pre-diabetic. So it's time for you to really start taking a stock of the state of your health and taking stock of what you're eating, more importantly, how you're eating and how you're relating with food. Oftentimes when people have diabetes, they don't realize that it's not a sugar-based disease. Although it's about your blood sugar levels being high or your glucose levels being high, but the actual underlying cause of diabetes is not sugar. The underlying cause of diabetes, or the main contributing factor to diabetes, is actually your body's inability to secrete insulin, because sometimes you may be insulin resistant. And how you become in that state is because if you have too many types of carbohydrate type foods, you know, your rice, your pasta, your yams, your potatoes, your chips, your bread, if this makes up the majority of your diet, then you're putting yourself at very high risk of developing diabetes. Because when you have these foods in inordinate amounts as part of your diet and they start to build up in your system, your body then has to convert these foods into energy or into glucose, which the body uses as a fuel source. And when you have too much of that glucose that is not being utilized or not being broken down, is not being shuffled into the cells where it belongs, you then leave yourself open to developing that horrible condition called diabetes. So if you're a person that's watching, or you know someone that's watching, and you have a high intake of carbohydrates, bread, yam, pasta, rice, those sort of foods, these are the things you need to start cutting out. These are the things you need to start bringing down or bringing under control. Once you start to bring this under control, you'll find that your levels, your sugar levels will go down if you are already diabetic. But if you haven't already become diabetic, then at least your levels of risk will also be reduced by you just reducing that level of intake. Now, oftentimes doctors say, oh, if you're diabetic, you need to start exercising. Why would they say to you, you need to start exercising or losing weight? Because they know that you have excess amount of food or energy that's been converted into sugar, but it's not being utilized. So when that energy is not being utilized, they're telling you, you need to start exercising and using up that food. If you're having all that food and you're having all those carbs, then make sure you're having a high impactful lifestyle or level of habits or levels of activities that you can then burn up that food. There's no point in having a big massive breakfast or a big massive lunch and going to your office and sitting down on a chair and having a very sedentary lifestyle, because all that food that's not being converted, all that energy that's not being converted, is going to either end up being stored as triglycerides, which becomes fat, or it's going to end up remaining undigested or not in the cells where it belongs. That's going to keep your blood sugar levels high. So there's some few quick tips that you can use to look at your status if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and some simple things that you can do to reduce your risk. So those are a few of the statistics that we've come across as we do our studies on a day-to-day basis. We have to make sure we keep abreast of exactly what's happening in the world of health, so we can make sure when we give information or we give advice, it's up to the time and it's up to date, so that people can actually utilize it and hopefully impact their current lifestyle. Now, I want to encourage you, if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat. Make use of the chat, make use of that resource, because we really want to answer as many questions as we can today. We've got a lot of questions that people have sent in already, so I'm going to try and get through those. If you have got a burning issue or something that maybe been ailing you or been troubling you for some time, or been troubling a relative of yours or a family member, your mother, your grandmother, your grandparents, your children, if there's something has been troubling them and you haven't had a chance to maybe get the right kind of attention, or maybe get some right kind of solution that you're happy or you're content with, then this is a great resource for you to put that question in, and let's see how we can help you to maybe bring that situation into order. Thank you all those that have joined. Thank you all those that have been faithfully taking part in these live Q&As, and those that have taken time to send questions in as well. We're really grateful, because it's really going to help somebody else. And any question that you ask, you may think it's maybe something that's personal to you, but there's no such thing as a silly question or something that not really relevant, because even though it may just be personal to you, it may also help a lot of other people. So we always encourage people to ask their questions and not feel shy to share. So let's get some of the questions that we've already been graced with. Some people have already had they've taken the the step of sending them in. So I'm going to quickly find those questions and pull them up. Okay, so our first question that we had, and like I said, feel free to make use of the chat and put yours in there as well. We'll make sure we try and put them up on the screen. First question that we had that came in, where they've gone. Get them back up here. Okay, so why am I always tired? Okay, somebody asked, why am I always tired? Now, there's a number of reasons why people are always tired, because now many people actually come to us suffering with this. Sometimes they call it fatigue, or they call it chronic fatigue, or they'll just say they're just always tired. You go to bed late, they wake up late, or they go to bed tired and they wake up tired, but they just always seem to be tired. They've taken their coffee, they've taken their Red Bull, they've had their sugary drink or whatever they use, caffeine, whatever they use to give them that quick fix, but it's still not giving them the levels of energy that they need to get on with their day-to-day tasks. Now, there's a number of reasons why you could be tired. The number one obvious reason is that maybe you haven't had enough sleep. And if you have enough sleep, maybe you haven't had enough quality sleep, because there's sleep and there's quality sleep. When you sleep, your body goes into a thing called restorative mode, where it starts to regenerate and restore the body. And if that sleep is interrupted, that whole process of regeneration and restoration, it slows down and sometimes grinds to a halt. So if you're sleeping, you're going to bed at night, and you're waking up 2 or 3 times to go to the bathroom, that is going to have a significant impact on your quality of sleep. I'll come back to that in a second, but I'll look at a couple of other reasons why people may be always tired. If you work nights, if you're a person that works nights, it's not a good thing for you to do. If you work nights, I know some people don't like interacting with people during the day. They think, I don't want to be around people, I don't want to see people, I don't really like hanging around people, or they've got other commitments during the day that they find it's much more convenient for them to work at night. Working at night is one of the worst things you can do to your body. It's one of the worst things you can do to your body. I actually have some practitioners that if you tell them that your main job is you're a night shift worker, they'll just refuse to see you outright until you change that job. That's it. There's no compromise, because they know the levels of detrimental damage that is caused to the body just by you working at night. I'll give you an example. I had a client, she was in excruciating pain. She had pains in her shoulder, she had pains in her back, she had pains in her legs, she had pains in her knees. She had pains all over her body. And we put her on an extensive program of detoxification. We really helped her to bring down the levels of inflammation. We had on a lot of anti-inflammatory foods and a very anti-inflammatory diet. And the pain reduced, but nothing like it should have done for the level of program and level of intervention that she'd been exposed to. So then we did a little bit more digging into her lifestyle, and we asked her, so what do you do for a living? She said, she project manages, but she works nights. I was like, really? I said, well, one of your major problems is the fact that you're not sleeping and you're working at night. And I kid you not, I guarantee you, if you are to give up that night job, or at least do 3 or 4 days a week, working days, and cut down your night shifts, you will see a significant improvement in your levels of pain. At first, she found it a bit hard because she found it so convenient working nights. But she, it's like, when you got the hand in the cookie jar, you want to let go of the cookie. You don't let go of the cookie, but you want to bring your hand out. She wanted to get rid of the pain, but she didn't want to get rid of the job and the thing that was actually contributing to the pain. And for the most part, for a good part of it, actually causing the pain. So it took her a few weeks battling gospel and falls and battles. Have you changed your job yet? No. Okay, well, you're going to make your program take a lot longer. It could be a long till you get results. Anyway, eventually, she decided to change from nights to days. Her situation almost became like night and day. She reported that her pain reduced dramatically. It went from being like 90 down to about 10. And the rest of the 10 was just dealt with, using diet and lifestyle change and detox. So just changing your job could have a significant effect on your levels of wellness. Anyway, working nights definitely is no-go. Another one is having coffee or having stimulating drinks late at night. You also might want to look at your sleep environment. Do you have a lot of pollution coming into your room? When I say pollution, I mean things like noise. Do you have things like light? Do you sleep with your windows open? Do you have like sounds from outside coming in? Do you have like street lights near you? Or do you have your TV on? Do you have your iPad or your telephone, your mobile phone next to you? All these things have a significant effect on your body's ability to shut down and actually go to sleep. So all these things are really having a significant effect on you, your health, as well as your sleep. So just by you reducing the levels of light, make sure you've got blackout curtains on your windows, make sure there's no light coming in, because as soon as you have a little bit of light coming in, it tells us that the circadian rhythm or the hypothalamus in the brain that it's daytime and it's daylight. So it kind of puts you in that awake mode. So when you're sleeping, you need to make sure that your room is as dark as can possibly be. That way you keep the brain in that mode of restoration and rejuvenation. So let's look at some of the reasons why people wake up. People wake up in the night because sometimes they're going to the bathroom, and we often ask people, how much water are you drinking during the day? And they think, well, no, I drink enough water, I drink plenty of water, and I'm waking up in the night because I drink late at night. But I'm here to say today, the main reason why people wake up in the night to go to the bathroom is not because they've drank water in the evening, as many of you may believe. The main reason why you may be waking up in the night is because you are dehydrated. When you're dehydrated, that means your bladder has become very weak. It's become atrophied. The muscles, you've got two muscles that control the bladder. They're called sphincter, the upper sphincter and the lower sphincter. When your bladder has not had any work to do during the day, i.e. drinking, opening, closing, letting out the urine, processing the water, processing the fluids, etc., the muscles become very weak. So what we do, we put you on what we call our hydrotherapy program, where we increase your levels of hydration quite dramatically, but we do it gradually during the day. So you drink about 3 or 4 liters of water a day. And what people tend to find, and it really shocks them, is that they've drunk more water than they've ever drunk in their life. But in the nighttime, they find they're waking up less. Why is that? Because you've taken your muscles to the gym, you've opened the bladder, closed the bladder, opened the bladder, closed the bladder. You've increased their capacity to hold water. So when you come to bed at night, you find that you're able to lay down, and as your body's moving the fluids out of the blood into the bladder is able to hold it because you've strengthened the muscles just by drinking more water during the day. So these are some of the reasons and some of the things that are contributing to people being always tired. And you've got other things like your food, your diet. You may have eaten too late, or you may have had a very heavy meal late at night, which is taking a lot of resources to break it down and digest it. So there's lots of different reasons, but I'm just giving you a few simple ones that you can take away and make a few changes to your diet or to your lifestyle to make sure you're not tired. Okay, let's look at another one. Another question that came in was, why can I not go back to sleep when I wake up at night? That's kind of similar to the one that we had before, but let's look at again. If you've gone to sleep, you've woken up to go to the bathroom, you've come back to lay down. Now, the first thing we may look at is there may be some imbalances in your hormones. You may have some issues with your thyroid. You may have some issues with your hypothalamus. You may have too much estrogen. You may be perimenopausal. I know a lot of people, when they get into the perimenopause or into the menopause, they have that blanket on, blanket off, blanket on, blanket off, and it really affects their sleep waking cycle. If you have imbalance in your hormones, first thing you want to start looking at is what is your intake levels of foods like soy. What is your level of pesticides? Because if you have too many pesticides, these pesticides contain a lot of poisons called endocrine disruptors. So if you have a lot of wheat, if you have a lot of bread, if you have a lot of pasta, if you have a lot of foods that are quite regularly sprayed with pesticides, these pesticides could also interfere with your hypothalamus and your circadian rhythm, which means if your circadian rhythm is out of sync or off kilter, it's going to affect your ability to go to sleep and remain asleep. You've got to look at some levels like your melatonin levels. So sometimes melatonin levels are low or your minerals are low in general, because once your body has the right levels of minerals, then your body is able to produce the right levels of nutrients and compounds that it needs to shut down the brain and keep it shut down. When your body goes to sleep, you're supposed to stay asleep. That's why there's a thing called, they call it matter. When the body's working to order, 9 o'clock, the repairman comes, he releases the serotonin into the brain converts that and starts to shut you down, like the body's natural anesthetic. When it shuts you down, you find the eyes will close at about 10 o'clock. You get the glue will start to form in the middle of your eyes. That's the matter that keeps the eyes closed to make sure when they start its operation of healing, there's nothing that's going to interrupt with it or interfere with that process. So by you making sure you have the right levels of nutrients, your body's going to function in according to order. When it functions according to order, it will keep you asleep throughout the whole night until the matter naturally falls away at about 5 or 6 in the morning. And that means your body has had ample amounts of sleep. It's had ample amount of time to do all the repair and complete the repair for the regeneration for that cycle. And it's got you ready and prepared for a new day. If you're not having that interrupted sleep, or if you're not having an uninterrupted sleep, then there could be an imbalance in your nutrients. There could also be an imbalance in your diet. You could have maybe too many stimulating foods, as you mentioned earlier, or too many stimulating drinks. So there's lots of reasons why you can go to sleep in the first place, but then not be able to get back to sleep after you've woken up. So you want to be looking at your diet, looking at your intake of nutrients, looking at your levels of minerals, also look at your levels of vitamins, because B6 is another very important vitamin that will help you to go sleep and stay asleep. Then you've got things like minerals like magnesium. Have magnesium is a very good thing to use to help you to stay relaxed and stay asleep. You've got things like valerium. We've got essential oils. We have a very powerful product called Menavate Balance, which has all the essential oils. You just rub it on your wrist, rub it on your both wrists, rub it on your temples, and people always, come back and comment how for the first time they had a very deep and restful sleep. Another reason why people may not be being able to get to sleep and stay asleep is because they may have parasites or they have parasitic activity. When you have too many parasites, they could also have an impact on your ability to stay asleep. So there's lots of different reasons why you may be waking up. I hope I've given you a few that you can take away and try a few different tips to keep you asleep. Okay, so thank you for that question. Let's get another one. Why can I not remember my PIN number? This is a very interesting question. We see this on a regular basis, and we're seeing it more and more, and it's quite alarming, to be fair, because we're seeing people sometimes as young as the age of 30. We saw someone just, I think, 3 days ago. We did a scan, and she was showing early signs of Alzheimer's. When you start to have early signs of Alzheimer's, that means some of the neurons that are responsible for your short-term memory, your long-term memory, your synaptic memory, they are starting to die off. And when these neurons start to die off, the first thing you start to notice is that you stop remembering things that you should remember. Things that you should remember are things that you use on a regular basis. Things like your PIN number is something that you use on a regular basis, and it's almost embedded in your memory. You don't even need to get a piece of paper, because once you've used it 4 or 5 times, it's 2 digits. Well, it's 4 digits, but it's 2 sets. You may have 2447. That's 2 digits. It's actually 4 numbers, but it's actually in your memory, it's 2 digits. So 2447, 8962. Everyone knows their PIN number. If you're not able to remember something that you use on a regular basis, that is a telltale sign that there's something dramatically happening or going wrong with your neurons. And we found that people are starting to develop Alzheimer's younger and younger and younger than ever before. And it's becoming quite alarming, because a lady came in the other day, one of our old-time clients. It was quite an interesting scenario, because it was a mother and a daughter. They both came. The mother, she was a returning client. So she came and said, you know what, I'm not going to tell you what's wrong with me today. I want you to tell me what my issues are. And as I did the scan, I went to her and said, okay, the first one I noticed, hey, what's happening with your brain? Because the memory was showing, the memory was low, but also the cerebral vessel elasticity. That means the blood vessels in the brain, they were starting to become inflamed. And when they start to become inflamed, that is a big sign that there's problems. There's going to be problems in the brain. So I first straight away that you're having a problem with your brain, you're having a problem with your memory. She said, wow, you picked it up very quickly. I said, wow, what are you experiencing? She said, well, her words were coming out very slurred. She wasn't able to, formulate sentences properly. She was wondering, why is she trying to say something, but it's not coming out as she wanted to come out? Then she started to turn back the things that she couldn't remember, that she should remember. She's trying to remember people's names. They told her name. They can't remember the name within 10 seconds. These are all early signs of Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is the disease or the disorder that comes before dementia. And if you can catch the disorder or the situation or the deterioration when it's at the Alzheimer's stage, then you have a much, much, much better chance of preventing it from degenerating into full-blown dementia. But when it gets to the stage of dementia, that means that decline in neurons, or that process of neurons dying and blood vessels, cerebral blood vessels becoming expanded or bleeding, especially if you look at alcohol, it's going to speed up and exacerbate that process. So the quicker you can identify these symptoms and get yourself checked, if you're going to go and see your GP, go and see your take medical advice, or go to the hospital, get yourself checked. You might have to go and see a neuroscientist or go and see a neurologist, but if you can get yourself checked at that early stage, or if you notice your parents or your grandparents and they're showing these signs of things that they should remember, they can't remember their children's names, these are early signs of Alzheimer's, and you want to get in on it and get on it quickly so you can change it or reverse it before it becomes full-blown dementia. That's one of the things that we're seeing on a regular basis. So hopefully you haven't got Alzheimer's and maybe just having some short-term memory loss for a period of time. But when people can't remember things like their PIN number, that's a clear sign that there's something quite severe going on with the brain. Let me get through another couple of questions. Let me see, I've got a few questions in the chat. Okay. All right, so let's have a look at here. We've got a big question there. Let's put this one on the screen. What can I take to reduce my weight, please? Another fantastic question. Now, weight is a thing that we find there are various approaches to. We have a very kind of like practical approach to weight, because we ask the body, if you're trying to lose weight and it's not happening, why is your body holding on to that weight or holding on to the fat? There must be something that's happening in your body that is causing your body to not shed the weight. And this is after people have gone to exercise. They've gone to different diets. They've done the Cambridge diet, the Oxford diet, the Brixton diet, the Tottenham diet. They've done every kind of diet that's out there, and none of them are giving them the results that they need. And they've wondered, why am I not losing weight? And when we've done the scan, we've identified that their metabolism has slowed right down, simply because there's been a high level of toxicity within the body. When you have high levels of toxicity within the body has to always protect itself in order for it to protect you and keep you going. So the body will make a decision to say, how do we keep this person up and running to keep doing their day-to-day activities? If they know there's a lot of toxins, they have the liver, they have the kidney, they have the lymphatic system, they're going to try their best to isolate these toxins and take them out of circulation. Now, when they take them out of circulation, the first thing they're going to do is look for, where can we put them? Now, the first obvious port of call is to put them in the liver. So they'll store them in the liver, and that's when, if the liver becomes overloaded, that's when you start to develop what they call fatty liver or fatty liver disease, and that actually increased by 400%. Fatty liver disease increased by 400% just last year alone. That was the last statistic that I saw. So that's another silent killer. But once the liver has become overloaded with storing all this fat and storing all these toxins, the body says, well, where can we put it next? The livers can't take anymore. The lymphatic system is starting to clog up. So the next thing they'll do is say, well, we have to start storing fat. And when they take those toxins out of the blood, they're going to say, right, they're going to put it in a fat cell and store it as fat. And that fat's either going to be stored in the blood or going to be stored in your visceral fat around your stomach area. The body will then say, if you're trying to lose that fat, that means those toxins are going to be released back into the body. And that's going to put the body under stress. That could end up, damaging the vital organs, the liver, the kidney, the heart, the brain, and you end up dying. So it says, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to store fat until we can find a way to deal with these toxins. So what our approach is when people have weight issues, and we found it effective hundreds and hundreds and thousands of times over, is that we always go for detoxification. And detoxification, we start with the colon. We start with cleansing the colon and removing or helping the body to remove some of those built up toxins, because sometimes the food, the liver, they say the liver can detoxify itself, but sometimes because of the foods that we're eating and the processed foods or having too many different impurities in the food, it makes it a little bit harder for the body to remove those toxins by itself. So you sometimes have to give it a little bit of help. So we have a thing called OxyFlush colon cleanse that really helps to flush the colon and flush a lot of those impurities out of the body. It really flattens your stomach for sure, because it brings out so much waste, so much water, so much stuff that's accumulated in there, that the body is using to store toxins within and storing other impurities that it doesn't want to have in circulation. So by you detoxifying and releasing some of those toxins or some of that undigested food or unwanted waste, it allows the body to say, oh, I don't need that fat anymore. I don't need that level of fat. And it will start to reduce the fat. So just by you detoxifying the colon, detoxifying the blood, the more you detox, is the more you lose weight. And we find that people, when they go on our detox programs, the byproduct of their detoxing is weight loss. We never actually have ever done a weight loss program, because we find that weight loss happens easily. Once you detox, get rid of the toxin, the body doesn't need the fat. So it releases it by itself. So what can you take to reduce your weight? The first thing you can do is first start looking at your intake of food, what you're ingesting that can maybe be clogging up your system or allowing your body to produce toxins. Then the next thing is to do is, let's try and remove some of those toxins by the shortest and the simplest possible route. OxyFlush is a nice, easy start, but we always recommend to do a combination of products, so that way you're supporting the colon, you're supporting the liver, you're supporting the blood, you're drinking a lot of water, you're doing a bit of hydrotherapy, because you need water to make the lymphatic system unblock. So if the lymphatic system is blocked, that's another reason why you're going to store fat. The lymphatic system, it relies on pressure. The heart has a pump, so it pumps the blood around. The blood has a pump, which is the heart, to pump it around the body. but the lymphatic system doesn't have a heart, doesn't have a pump. It relies on pressure. And the only way that gets activated is either by movement or by drinking lots of water. So by increasing your hydration is another way you can help to lose weight. So drink a lot of water and you'll find your body able to move a lot of waste through your system a lot quicker. It's able to get your food to be absorbed. It's also able to get your food digested, and it's also able to help to remove it out as waste. So that's a few things you can do: detox, increase your hydration, and look at what you're intaking from a food perspective. Okay, Deborah asked a question. What is good for heartburn? Fantastic question. Now, heartburn, we find, is linked to your digestive system again. When you're having heartburn, that means your food that you've taken in has gone down, is looking for the right levels of acids and stomach acids, pepsin, etc., to start to break down that food and initiate that digestive process. If it gets into the stomach and it finds that the environment is not conducive for that to happen, it's invariably going to come back up, because it's going to go through that esophagus, which has got lots of different levels of pepsins and lots of different levels of acids at the different stages. It's going to come back to try and find that acid so it can start to be broken down and initiate the digestive process. So oftentimes when you don't have the right amount of resources in your gut, then you'll find the food come back up and you'll start to feel that kind of heartburn. You call it heartburn because it's actually happening in that part of the chest. It's not necessarily the heart, but it's just the acid or the food that's not been digested coming back up, trying to find a way where it can actually start that process of digestion. So what you can do in that situation is to start to increase your hydrochloric acid, or HCl. Start to look at increasing your digestive enzymes. Look at pepsin, P-E-P-S-I-N. Pepsin is a really, really powerful digestive juice that really helps the stomach to start to break down food and break into macromolecules or micromolecules in order for it to be digested and absorbed, and then the waste matter is able to remove. So you first want to look at the resources that are available in your gut and look at how you can increase those resources to aid and support the digestive process. Another thing you could actually add to your regime is to increase or include some probiotics. These are all the tools that the body uses to help to break down food. Prebiotics are good as well, but probiotics are very, very good because the body uses bacteria extensively as part of the digestive process. So the more you have resources available within your gut, is the more your body is able to break down and digest your food, which will help to significantly eliminate or reduce your instances of heartburn. Okay, thank you very much for those questions. I've got a few more here. I've got a big one here. Let's see if I can get this on a scroller. Right, Shirley said, I read something today that said inflammation to the hair follicles in Black women causing hair loss and hair to thin, or they get bald patches. I thought it was due to an autoimmune issue such as underactive or overactive thyroid gland, or a vitamin D deficiency and menopause. Would love to know your views on it and what you consider is the main reason for hair loss. That's a very good question, Shirley. Thank you for articulating it so well. So let's first rule out the myths. There are many reasons why hair will start to go bald, or hair will start to thin or start to reduce. People often like to say, oh, it's down to thyroid, it's down to hormones. Let's look at the fundamentals. When the body is functioning to order, the body will lose naturally 100 hairs a day, because the body is always in a state of regeneration, rebuilding itself and getting it back to where it should be. So in that process, you lose 100 hairs a day. But when your body's in order, has the right levels of nutrients, has the right levels of vitamins and minerals, you will also grow back 100 hairs. So every day you have a new set of hairs, and your hair continues to renew itself as your years go by. But when you start to have imbalances in your diet, for example, or in your nutrition, or in your nutrients, you're going to find that process is impeded, because the body hasn't got the full amount of resources to regenerate back the 100 hairs. So the process of you losing the 100 hairs will still take place. But instead of you growing back 100, you may grow back 90, or you may grow back 80, or you may grow back 60 or 50. But as you're growing back less hair, you'll find your hair is starting to thin. And why is the hair starting to thin? Because the resources that the follicles need to stimulate that regeneration or that regrowth that's been happening for years and years and years is no longer available. So the first thing you want to look at is, what am I putting into my body, or what am I not putting enough of that is contributing to the situation? Now, you said you read something saying that inflammation to the hair follicles in black women causes hair loss. What is causing the inflammation? That's our approach. We were more interested in the why behind the what. Why is this happening? Because once you understand why something is happening, then you can take the relevant steps to address that, and then in turn reverse it, because you understand the process of how that situation came about. Inflammation is the body's response to stress or stressors. So if you've got stressors that are in the body that will cause the cells to inflame, that means you've got to look at, what am I putting in my body that is triggering the inflammation that's now affecting the hair follicles? The same thing that affects the hair follicles, or the same stress that could affect the hair follicles, could also affect the thyroid. What you're having too much of or not having enough of. Because the body relies on your diet in order for it to get all the resources that it needs to keep it functioning and operating optimally. As Deborah said earlier, she's having heartburn. We talked about what she's not having enough of. We looked at probiotics, we looked at digestive enzymes, we looked at pepsin. These are resources that the body may have run down on. Again, water is also another key factor contributing to digestion and indigestion, because if you've got enough water, your body will digest food well. If you haven't got enough, you're going to have indigestion. So the same way when you're having inflammation to the hair follicles, you're going to look at what's contributing to the inflammation. What are you eating, or what are you not eating enough of that may be contributing to that? If it's thyroid, maybe you haven't got enough selenium, or you haven't got enough iodine, or you've got too much iodine. Again, it's going to come down to the diet. And if you're not getting enough of a substance, then maybe you want to look at supplementation. If you're not getting enough of it from your diet, the best way is to obviously have a balanced diet. But obviously, sometimes people don't know what the full rudiments of a balanced diet entails. So this is why we have, these kind of resources, so we can help to inform you of the steps to take to empower yourself with the knowledge and the relevant tools to then make those changes. So again, it's nice to read these things on the internet, but you've got to, really dissect it, and sometimes apply a little bit of logic, and also apply some common sense. Yes, it sounds very scientific. Yeah, inflammation to the hair follicles and causes hair loss, but that's not all. The body is very complex, and it relies on a lot of, available resources for it to function well. So just by you not having enough of a certain resource could have a significant effect on how well that process takes place. But we know for a fact, not having the right amount of minerals, not having the right amount of collagen is going to affect the regeneration of your hair, because hair relies heavily on collagen to impact or empower the regrowth. That's why we have a thing called Elixir of Life. Elixir of Life, again, is a very powerful collagen booster. And we found that people who've taken Elixir of Life, we heard the guy earlier on who had the heart triple bypass, he was promoted to having a stent. Collagen helps to regenerate bones, helps to regenerate tendons, helps to regenerate tissues, helps to regenerate hair. Everyone talks about their hair increases when they take the Elixir of Life. So there's so many things that, because that product contains a lot of minerals, we know for sure that minerals has an impact on the body's ability to regenerate hair. Okay, let's get another challenge one here. Okay, from Norma. Sinus bradycardia. Can you say a little bit about this? Now, when you have sinus bradycardia, again, you've got some disorders in your membrane, the membrane in the nose. So when you have this kind of situation, it's always important to be very careful about your immediate environment and what is in the air. If you have a toxic environment that is, maybe not very well ventilated, you're going to be exposed to quite a high level of airborne pathogens or airborne toxins that could be making their way into the nostril and be impacting the sinus. Also, when you're sleeping, your room, you got to look at the environment in your room, you got to look at the airflow in your room, because you're going to have some kind of trigger or something that's going to be affecting your sinus function, and more importantly, the membrane. So you want to be first looking at your immediate environment and looking, how did this situation come about in the first place? What am I doing, or what am I not doing that is contributing to the situation, or indeed sustaining it? Because if you have it to that level, that means this situation must have been ongoing for quite some time. So the first thing I do is do an audit of your sleep environment, because you spend a lot of time where you just relax and you're breathing through your nose. Most of the time you're breathing through your nose. So let's look at your room environment. Do you have a lot of dust? Do you have carpets? Do you have your windows open? Is the area well ventilated? Then you got to look at, is it a place where you work? Is it a place where you go on a regular basis? Are you exposed to strong scents, to strong smells? Because the nose is responsible for bringing air in, and also it has filters. But sometimes if things are very strong, they can bypass those filters and really go into the nose and start damage. You do have a lot of immune cells in the area. You've got your adenoids, which are here. You've got the 10 division of the immune system. The adenoids are in the sinus to try and block any pathogens from getting into the brain or getting into the bloodstream through the nose. So there are quite a few filters. But if you've got to the point where you've got the sinus bradycardia, then you've got to do is look at your environment to see how there may be something that you're doing that could be contributing to this, or something that's in your environment on its own that may be impacting your situation. So these are some really, really good questions. I'm really, really pleased that so many good ones are coming through. So keep them coming. Type your question in the chat. If you see there's something that you like, or see something you heard that you really want to get some more information on, feel free to go along to our website, which is mihealthcaregroup.net. That's my with M-I, not M-Y, but mihealthcaregroup.net, where you can see a lot more information about the things that we do and our approach, our holistic approach to well-being and indeed restoring order back within the body. Right, Beverly's got a question. I want to stop taking statins. Do you have anything I can use to replace it? Statins, simvastatin, atorvastatin. These are some very, very serious detrimental medications. When they give you statins, basically they're telling you, if you can't control your diet, we're going to have to give you some medication to control it for you. That's essentially what they're saying. When you take statins, the main role of statins is to try and thin the blood, to enable the blood to travel down narrow pathways. If the blood is traveling down narrow pathways, the question that we ask, and we always get people to ask themselves, is how did those pathways become narrow? What are you eating or what are you ingesting that is causing your arteries and your veins to become clogged up, that you have to have the need for blood thinners or statins to narrow or squeeze your blood down, thin your blood down to enable it to get past? Normally, people will look at their diet, or we approach from a dietary perspective. The first thing we want to understand is, if you're a person that has a lot of fried food, for example, like the classic Caribbean diet that have a lot of fried fish, fried dumpling, fried yam, everything's fried. And we have high levels of fried food, fried chicken, for example. If you imagine a plate, when you finish the plate of a nice bit of steak or curry, goat or curry mutton, whatever it is that's been curried or fried, and you've finished the meal, fantastic meal, tasted lovely, and you've got that greasy film that's now forming on the plate. When that greasy film forms on the plate, as the temperature starts to cool, that plate or that grease is going to start to harden. It's going to form a very hard layer on the plate that you have to then use hot water and some lemon or some whatnot liquid to then break it down in order for you to wash the plate and put it on the sideboard. Now, when that process happens in the blood, you don't have the benefit of hot water and whatnot liquid. That grease that started to decompose and get hard is now going to start to form a layer of plaque in your arteries. When that plaque starts to form and you start to have more plaque laying on top of it, laying on top, you're then going to start to find your arteries that should be really wide start to become very narrow. And when they start to become very narrow, guess what? It starts to become difficult for blood to pass through. What they're going to say? You need to start taking statins. If you were to change your diet and start looking at what you're eating and reducing that, or those foods that are contributing to that situation, that's the first step. The second step is that you can start looking at foods that can help to break down that buildup of plaque. You've got things like garlic. Garlic is a great anti-plaque food or nutrient because it has something called allicin in there. It really helps. You've got some really good compounds in garlic that really helps to break down the arterial plaque. You've also got a thing called vitamin B, B3 to be exact, niacin. They used to use niacin back in the day to help to break down cholesterol and, to remove a lot of that arterial plaque. But they found because there's a side effect called the flush, where your body feels really hot, you feel really like a fiery sensation from your head, from your brain, all the way down, sometimes to your chest, to your knees. They found it sometimes a little bit uncomfortable for people, so they stopped prescribing it as a treatment. But it was very effective at breaking down the arterial plaque. So if you're having problems with your arteries, you want to start looking at foods that can clean the arteries, foods that have high levels of antioxidants. You're looking at your berries, you're looking at your beetroot, foods that are very rich in nitrogen and compounds that really help to open the blood vessels. Even certain amino acids like the arginines. These are foods and nutrients and compounds and minerals that are renowned for their ability to help to open the arteries and remove and break down these types of buildups of plaque. So look at your diet, Beverly, look at what you're eating, and then look at some natural interventions that you can use to start to break down the plaque so you can get yourself off those statins, because they had a panorama documentary on the dangers of statins and the effects they have on the liver. So you've got to be really careful when you're taking statins, especially when you're taking them for extended periods of time. Okay, I've got to find where to move that one so I can get the next one in. Okay, we've got another question from Sarah. Sarah, is ASD and ADHD hereditary? Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. When they start talking about these kind of, they call them neurodiversities or neurological challenges or disorders, it's not per se to say it's hereditary, but you can have defective genes that once they've been damaged, that you can actually pass on. So yes, if you have a parent who is ADHD, they can actually pass on that. I don't want to use the word like defective, but those genes, they can pass them on to their children. There are things that happen during gestation that could also impact it, and also things that happen at early stage after childbirth. I want to kind of stay away from being controversial, but there are certain things that they prescribe and put them in the body that carry certain compounds that are quite detrimental to the development of the brain and can trigger ADHD. And there are a lot of children. I had a client who came today. She's actually a person that works with children. Both of them are childminders. Actually, two of them are both childminders. And they were talking about the alarming rates of children that they have between 0 and 6 that were displaying varied levels of ADHD. So there's almost like a quiet pandemic happening amongst children who are developing these types of hyperactive disorders. But there are things you can do. There are things you can do. One of the things you can do, again, we have to come from the fundamentals. Food. You can look at their diet. What are they eating? Is there foods that you're giving them that is giving them a high level of excitement? That's exciting or overstimulating the neurons or overstimulating the brain. Are you giving them high levels of sugar? Do they have a lot of sugar in their diet? Do they have a lot of sweet drinks? I remember when I went to the Superdrug once, many, many years ago, and I wanted to buy a Ribena, and I couldn't understand why the only Ribena they had was the children's one. But when I tasted it, I was like, oh, this is really sweet. I was like, how come this one, the children's one, is more sweeter than the adults one? And it's only after doing research that I actually got to find out that the reason why they had the children's one sweeter than the adult one was because they wanted to get the children hooked on sugar from a very early age. So you may often find that children's food or children's beverages are actually a lot more concentrated with sugar than the adult variant. So by you keeping an eye on what your child is ingesting, you could actually positively impact and reduce their levels of ADHD, because sometimes it could just be the food and the body's been overstimulated because they've got too much high levels of sugar or sugary foods or foods that contain stimulants in them that is actually contributing to a situation that may already be bad, or it could actually be the underlying cause that's triggering it in the first place. So they may not be ADHD, because I don't know if they've been diagnosed or not, but it could be that they become hyperactive because of things that they're ingesting on a regular basis. if they haven't got the right tools and enzymes and different vitamins and co-vitamins to break those things down, then it could be detrimental. But what we found in our experience is when we start to use, or we start to target the pancreas is responsible for secreting enzymes, in particular digestive enzymes, to break down those foods or break down those compounds that may be remaining in the blood for a long time and constantly stimulating or overstimulating the brain. Then you've got supplements like GABA. GABA is a very good product for children with ADHD because it really helps them to focus and to calm down the nervous system and helps children become a lot more settled. Then you've got things like blue vervain. Blue vervain is another very powerful plant extract that is renowned for its properties that actually help to settle down the brain. We've got all those all combined together in a product called brain and nerve support. And we've seen children that have been really, really, a bit of a handful in their class using the brain and nerve support. And the effect has been so pronounced that the teachers have actually called the parents. And the parents are like, oh my God, what's my child done? They're like, no. We just want to tell you that your child's concentration has skyrocketed, or their contribution to the class, discussions has really improved, or their levels of work, homework, etc., is greatly improved, just because these children have been using the brain and nerve support, because it contains all the natural plant-based extracts that are renowned for their ability to support the neurons and to calm down the nervous system. Also increases blood supply to the brain, so you've got things like ginkgo biloba in there, you've got things like sage. These things are really helpful in helping to modulate the nervous system, especially if it's overstimulated. So is it hereditary? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And even if it is hereditary, genes, when you start going to epigenetics, can be switched on, but it could also be switched off. It depends on the environment. So if you place them in an environment where you're able to influence those genes to do what you want them to do, then that situation can actually be addressed, or at least controlled, or better managed to increase your quality of life. How can you control? Okay, well, okay, let's deal with this next question from Maxwell. Thank you so much for that question, Sarah. Maxwell has a question. I'd love to see some men on here tonight as well. We really want to get more men involved in these types of forums so that they can really come out and ask the questions that are sometimes burning them, that they wouldn't necessarily have maybe not the confidence, but just a resource that they can tap into, that they can ask these things openly. So men, if you know other men that are watching, or that are having or going through different maladies or ailments of whatever sort and haven't really taken any action, because you know what men are like, well, we'll be fine. Get them to watch this, get them to tune in. We're going to be doing it every Thursday from 7 to 8. We've got about another 4 minutes or 2 minutes left, and then we're going to bring this one to a close. So I'm going to quickly answer this question from Maxwell on what causes sciatica. Sciatica, to keep it really simple, sciatica is caused by dehydration. Dehydration, yeah, people are probably surprised. Dehydration, huh? Yes, dehydration, because you've got the synovial fluid, which is a fluid that keeps the cushions in the spinal column lubricated, and those cushions, they separate each vertebrae from rubbing against each other. And it's also the pathway up and down which nerves travel from the brain to the various different parts of the body. When that cushion becomes flat because of dehydration and not enough water availability, those nerves that use that pathway to travel down will then derail. And when they derail, they're going to be moving out of their normal position of alignment. And then you'll start to find you've got a nerve that's shooting up and down the back of your leg, either the left side or the right side. And that's what they'll call sciatica, because it's a sciatic nerve. When that nerve is traveling out of its position, it's going to cause a lot of discomfort and a lot of pain. That's the cause of sciatica, when that cushion becomes flat. But more importantly, how do you reverse that? Well, it's really simple. Increase your hydration. We've seen people that have sciatica 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, and just by putting them on a hydrotherapy program, giving them the right collagen products, that booster collagen to really help to rebuild the tendons, because sometimes the disc could be degenerated because of lack of hydration. But hydration is one of the key underpinning factors. Then we back it up with, like I said, the anti-inflammatories, we back it up with the collagen builders, we back it up with the elixir of life. But we really, really heavily increase their water. And once they increase the hydration levels, that cushion fills up, the surrounding bones, the vertebrae, the discs above and below, they start to regenerate, the tendons around them start to realign themselves, disappears like that. We've seen sciatica reverse within 3 days. That's the shortest time we've seen so far. Some of them taking 10 days, some taking a little bit longer because people tend to not want to like drinking water. But we've seen sciatica reverse very easily. But the main cause of sciatica underlying is dehydration. I don't care what people want to say. They want to call it some other technical term or medical term. It's dehydration, because it's very easy to reverse once you've got that synovial fluid in that cushion back where it belongs. Thank you so much for all of your questions that you've had today. It's really been amazing. I hope that you found the information useful and impactful, and more important, that you'll be able to take it away and apply it to the greatest effect in your lives and in the lives of those around you. Remember to share this video if you think that the information has been useful, you found it useful to you, and you've been blessed by it. Please, please, please share it with as many people as you can. Get it out there to as many forums that you're involved with. Remember to like, share the video, and comment so that YouTube could also take it up and make it available to more people. So the more people that we have empowered with knowledge is the more people that we can have with less ailments and less suffering. I'm going to thank you for all those that have been with me today. Thank you for those that put it together, and thank you for those that have shared it. Look out for the link that will be coming out next week. If you want to watch the playback, simply click on the link that you joined with, and you'll be able to see the playback or share it with those that have not been able to attend. So thank you once again for all those that have been with me. It's been a real pleasure. I thank you. God bless you. And I'm out.
In a world where well-being takes center stage, we introduce a luminary figure and true pioneer in natural health and wellness, who has transformed countless lives with his natural health expertise and holistic approach. Introducing Aaron Warden, also known as the Juice Doctor. The Juice Doctor is an award-winning clinical nutritionist, natural health researcher, detox specialist, and functional health practitioner. He's a trailblazer, an innovator, and the producer of botanical health products. You may recognize him as the star of Channel 4 and Sky TV's Supersized Kids, where Aaron took a 26-stone teenager on an emotional roller coaster to transform his life and ultimately his weight. As a social entrepreneur, humanitarian, CEO, and founder of Vivo Nutrients, Go Detox, and MI Healthcare Group, the Juice Doctor is committed to providing natural health solutions that produce real results. His mission is simple: freedom through well-being. Join us for an extraordinary and insightful well-being experience as the Juice Doctor takes us through the award-winning wellness blueprint that has successfully helped thousands achieve natural weight loss, increased energy, amazing mental clarity, glowing skin, and overcome major health challenges without medication, bad diets, or stepping into a gym. The Juice Doctor's approach to wellness is revolutionary and cuts through uncertainty by thoroughly examining all aspects of your health and lifestyle. Once the root cause is identified, nature's finest organic ingredients are employed to create an inner environment conducive to accelerated well-being from within. Don't miss this life-changing opportunity to transform your life and inspire a new perspective on health. Bring your health-related questions and get organic recommendations and enhanced food-based solutions that will supercharge your health like never before. Book in for a non-invasive scan and consultation today and get ready for a transformative experience that will exceed your expectations. Your journey to holistic optimal wellness starts today. Make sure to follow the Juice Doctor on Instagram at ask.juicedoctor and on YouTube at Ask Juice Doctor.